out of the deal, in part due to his claims that Twitter had misrepresented the amount of fake accounts or bots. Twitter then sued, and the trial was set to start in Delaware very soon, less than 2 weeks.
That's Fox's Jeff Paul. 2 Americans are sharing the Nobel Prize handed out this morning for chemistry, for molecular research. And one of the winners, Carolyn Bertozzi, says it's important for
medicine, and in particular for drug delivery.
Another winner, K-Barry Sharpless, also shared the Nobel Prize for chemistry in 2001, just the 5th multiple winner ever. A judge is now king. That was Aaron Judge's 62nd home run of the season on Yes, breaking Roger Maris's American League record. The ball is estimated to be worth a few $1 million for the fan who caught it in Texas. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
In 1 minute. WPTV's First Alert Weather on WSTU is brought to you by Sailfish Roofing, offering excellence, honesty, and integrity in everything they do. Sailfish Roofing, 772-263-ROOF. Community roofing company you can trust. Sailfish Roofing. Now here's WPTV's First Alert meteorologist.
Your WPTV First Alert forecast calls for a pleasant start to the day along the Treasure Coast. Temperatures starting off in the mid to upper 60s and no weather worries for the morning commute. This afternoon, highs in the low to mid 80s and only a slim chance for an isolated shower. We have a weak front pushing into the area, and this will help reinforce that slightly cooler, drier air, at least over the next couple of days, helping to keep our rain chances low and the humidity on the lower end as well. I'm WPTV First Alert meteorologist Katya Hall for WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Welcome back, and we're having another wonderful Wednesday here, much better than last week. The hurricane has passed, and my goodness, the weather has been amazing. I have Toby Overdorf, Representative Toby Overdorf, in the studio to talk about your third run, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Already. Mm-hmm. It just seems like yesterday it was the first time. And
it does,
Third term already. So we're going to be catching up with you in just 1 second. Appreciate you being here because there's so much going on.
No worries.
First, I want to reach out to my sponsors. Public service equals public trust. This is a reminder to vote for Raymond Denzel. Ray Denzel will work for all the people of District 86. Ray Denzel is a problem solver and will always have an open door for you to reach him. Ray Denzel won't just vote the party line. Ray will vote for what makes sense for the people. Early voting begins October 26, or vote for Ray Denzel on November 8. Political advertisement paid for and approved by Raymond Denzel, Democrat for Florida House of Representatives, District 86. And folks, at the beginning of the show, I mentioned about the Hurricane Ian that came through. And again, we are still right in the season. There's a couple storms that are out there. We don't know where they're going to land yet. Hopefully not here, but I urge you to make sure, if you haven't already, reserve your spot for safe hurricane storage for your boats. Once a hurricane is named and it's headed our way, I pretty much can tell you it's almost impossible, if not impossible, to find a place to store your boat in this town. So one of the best places to do that is Indiantown Marina. It's one of South Florida's best boat storage facilities. It's located inland on the Okeechobee Waterway, and it's extremely well-protected hurricane hull. And while you have your boat out there, it's a do-it-yourself or full-service boat yard. Great time to get bottom paint done, electrical, mechanical, prop work. There's always things to do on a boat. If you're an owner, you know that. Give the good folks at Indiantown Marina a call at 772-631-3272. That's 631-3272. And COVID unexpected expenses and illnesses, there are many issues that can cause your successful business to slump deep into the red. We are here to help, and we only get paid if we provide you a workout. Debt restructuring is complicated. We are the negotiator between you and your creditors. Commercial Mortgage has been in the industry of small balance corporate finance since 2003. Our focus is on challenging corporate foreclosures, debt restructures, equity, and new debt solutions. The issues are often not easy to see or understand when you run a business and are faced with multifaceted debt challenges challenges that include legal action on various fronts. We never charge a front fee or deposit, and we're only paid if we successfully provide you a debt workout. Areas of expertise include hotels, marinas, office buildings, restaurants, apartments, multifamily, condos, golf courses, home builders, and land development, including new and repurposed development. Call Commercial Mortgage today at 772-872-6099 or visit them online, commercialmortgagellc.com. And finally, it's getting to be that time of year where it's super fun to check out the pocket and check out the best kept secret in Martin County, and that is the Fish House Art Center. You can look them up online before you head out, thefishhouseartcenter.com, but it's in Port Salerno in the pocket, and there is literally something there for the entire family. They have local artists, Airbnb, art gallery, boat charters, a marina, craft and creamery with craft beers and wine and 24 flavors of ice cream. You can rent bicycles and paddleboards, just everything. So make sure you check them out. It's thefishhouseartcenter.com. So now in the studio, we have Representative Toby Overdorf. He is Republican running for what is now District 85, which has some new boundaries and a new year, but third term. And, you know, they always say the third time's the charm. So we're looking for a charming session this year.
I love it.
So tell us a little bit now. I know you've been really busy, and what are you up to now with the hurricane that just struck on the West Coast?
Well, thank you very much. I'm right now working with my representative to the north, Dana Trabulsi, and we are working through the Stuart Martin County Chamber, Palm City Chamber, the St. Lucie County Chamber, and so many businesses that are now collecting various resources to be brought over to the West Coast to help our neighbors over on the West Coast. We were facing a really big hurricane a couple of years ago with Dorian that probably would have done similar, if not worse, damage. Grateful for the turn that was made there, and we didn't get hit with that. But that being said, those folks in the West Coast are really hurting. So I have a gentleman in my class named Representative Spencer Roach, and he had about 3.5 feet of water in his house. Another gentleman had about 18 inches. Our incoming Senate president had serious damage to her house. So there's a variety of folks over there that are really hurting, and we want to help those individuals, not necessarily all the folks that I just mentioned, but overall as the public. And we need everything from water and diapers and formula to new strollers, and folks need medical supplies. Folks just need basics. Kudos to FPL for the work that they've done, as well as Duke Energy and TECO. They brought back almost 95% of those that were offline. And they're ahead of schedule. They're doing a really, really great job. It really is incredible. And I think a lot of that also goes to the hardening of the system that happened prior to these storms. And we can remember we're all looking around and seeing new poles put in. We get little delays here and there in our traffic. But I'll tell you what, it's a very good thing now as we are looking at how the grid is actually working. So kudos to them and the hard work they're doing and the pre-staging, and frankly kudos to our governor as well for leading the charge in this, for always being on the ground. He and the First Lady are over there. The Department of Emergency Management is over there, and they're doing a great job. And frankly also to the search and rescue teams and CFO Jimmy Petronis. Every day I'm seeing pictures of them, and he's giving us an update of how many structures, how many interactions they've had. Unfortunately, there is a fairly large loss of life. I think the last count I saw was 105, with roughly almost 50 of those being in Lee County alone. That being said, I'm surprised that there aren't more, and given the ferocity of this the particular hurricane. But I think it's kudos to, number one, being prepared, number two, getting that warning out there, and also for those that heeded the warning and chose to leave their structures and head out of there when they realized Category 4 or 5 was heading for them.
Oh, so important. And we have seen all the devastating photos out of there. And a couple things. Yes, Governor DeSantis has been a great leader. And the next half hour, I'm going to have a organizer that has a DeSantis boat parade that's going to happen this Sunday. So he's going to be on the show to talk about that. And when you talked about the power being restored, I was shocked. I think it was like 2 days after the hurricane hit, 1.2 million people were already restored. It was incredible numbers, and they're moving at lightning speed, which... And by the way, Mother Nature, is as vicious as she was afterwards, the weather has been unbelievably cool for this time of year. So we've been very fortunate that way as well, especially for folks without electricity.
Absolutely.
It could be 90 and 90% humidity. So a lot of good things there. But Toby, I wanted to talk with you. This is something that has been a concern all this year, and now with the hurricane hitting here at home, people are even more concerned, and that's our home insurance rates. They have skyrocketed already this year. Now a hurricane has hit. I know that you had a special session to try and address it, but it wasn't an immediate relief. So tell us what's in the works and what people can expect.
Absolutely. So not this particular special session, but the year before, we actually passed some legislation that was addressing homeowner insurance, and it hadn't caught up yet to when rates were headed out this year. The second part of that special session, we absolutely did make some progress on that. Again, that special session, the things that we did in that won't necessarily catch up until the new fiscal year kicks in, which is unfortunate to say the least.
Right.
But we did put in a $2 billion reinsurance fund that was not available before. That reinsurance helps to lower insurance across the board for all folks in the state of Florida. And they should have received a statement, whether it be a September 1 or October 1, that shows how that reinsurance would affect their rates. And that was part of our laws as well. So check your bills, make sure that that actually happened, and that you see some kind of a reflection of that reinsurance coming into play. Additionally, right now, one of the things that we discovered was that while there's only about 20% of the claims nationally happen, it's about 15% of the claims nationally happen within the state of Florida for homeowner insurance. 70% of the insurance-related legal challenges happen within the state of Florida.
Wow.
So that is something that tells us, obviously, that there is some tort reform needed, and that we need to find some ways that we're going to be dealing with this. So that's going to be a real focus this next session, and we'll see from there.
Is this one of the issues with the companies that go out there and try to, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say it, hustle insurance companies into replacing an entire roof? Is it that type of litigation that's going on, even though the roof might have not really been damaged from a hurricane?
We have some really good roofers in this region that have done fantastic work, and I'm not speaking about any of them when I tell you the following. And that is, many folks get a postcard in the mail, or they find something that's attached to their door, where they say, "Oh, we went through your neighborhood today, and from your recent thunderstorms or hail damage or wind events, we noticed that there's some damage on your roof. We'd like to give you a free estimate." Well, that free estimate turns into, "Oh my goodness, you're going to need a new roof, blah blah blah, and don't worry, you won't have to pay for it. We'll take care of it for you." They put in the insurance claim. Well, normally on a roof, it costs anywhere from, say, on a smaller one, $10,000 to a larger one, almost $35,000, $40,000. And that would be the replacement value. However, now that insurance company says, "Well, we're going to go ahead and do that. That's fine." But now the company gets an attorney involved and says, "Hey, you're required to pay us the full value, which is $50,000. Well, the insurance company says, "No, why would we do that?" Now the lawyers get involved. So instead of it being a $10,000 to a $30,000 roof, now the fee instead is $100,000 to $120,000, because the lawyers are getting paid, the roofer's getting paid in full. Yes, the consumer has a new roof, and there's no payment out of their pocket. However, you're now seeing those rates go up all over the place.
Everybody's paying so much more.
So if somebody's getting a free new roof, there's a lot more to it, and always look at the details, and always use a reputable roofer. I love to use people within the Treasure Coast Builders Association, and so because I know that they're reputable and they've been checked out by their peers as well.
When it comes to roofs, I think the insurance industry was trying to remedy that situation themselves, but it's also put a lot of homeowners in a bind, and that is they won't insure you unless you have a new roof, even if you don't have a problem with your roof. They're saying, "Oh, it's over 20 years old, you have to get a new roof." Is there anything to address that issue? Because
Absolutely,
a lot of
yes.
roofs do last longer than 20 years.
So nobody who's building a home creates a roof to last for 10 years or for 15 years.
Right.
You have it there for at least 20 years. And I can understand 20 years starting to have some issues beneath potentially, et cetera. All that being said, yes, the special session, we created a law that said that you cannot be refused for insurance if your roof is 15 years or younger. If it goes over 15 years, you can have a reputable roofer do an inspection, and then that would allow you then to continue to have that insurance saying, yes, that roof is in good repair, there's no issues with it, and we're going to move forward with this roof in particular.
Good news.
So that's a really good thing, and the insurance companies then have to take that report and cannot deny you from having insurance.
Very good news. Let's talk a little bit about affordable housing as well. Is there anything that the state is doing to address that situation? Of course, we're Florida. Everybody wants to move here, and our house prices have
Sure.
skyrocketed.
So from the Growth Management Act one of the provisions that we put in there this past year was a bonus requirement to local government that said if in fact you are going to allow for a developer to go ahead and do something, if they choose to go ahead and put affordable housing units in there, they can get a bonus associated with that. So that was one thing that we've done. We are looking at additional ways that we may be able to do that. I have to be honest with you, I don't like government getting in for pricing on housing. I think that's a slippery slope that we can get into, and actually I think it actually deters additional builders from coming in. Right now we need some volume. We need a lot of different opportunities, and frankly folks need good paying jobs that will then allow them to come out of that. And part of that is looking at various skills training. Everybody doesn't need to go to college, but everybody needs a good job.
Right.
And so if we can do some skills training, get some good jobs out there, whether it be a nurse's assistant, whether it be a diesel mechanic, an air conditioner person, or a variety of the other trades out there, they all make great money. Additionally, we're coming up to $15 an hour. That is going to be the minimum base salary. With that minimum base salary now coming up, all other expenses are going up because the employers have to pay for that as well. You combine that with inflation that we're seeing coming out of our federal government. It's unfortunately it's another tidal wave that's heading for that housing market, and some folks are really getting crunched out there. The final thing I'll say on that is, watch your fuel costs as well. I realize we're in a month right now where we've waived the taxes on gas, and so we've seen all fuel go down by about 25 cents. But we're seeing nationally the gas averages go up, and behind the scenes, what we're not really seeing is natural gas. Natural gas is now almost quadrupled what it was at the beginning of the year. The reason for that is our federal government has cut off a lot of the supplies and a lot of the production of that. Natural gas powers 80% of our electricity here in the state of Florida. So if you're wondering why your FPL bill is going up, it's not FPL, it's actually the natural gas associated with it.
I didn't realize that, and I've noticed my bill go up a lot. I didn't realize that was the
certainly.
forces behind there. So that's very good information, and it's one of those things we have to realize how much the federal government is impacting us with the decisions that they're making. So with that, let's talk also about, by the way, kudos with your position. I don't think that government either should be involved with affordable housing and dictating what builders and developers should. So it's tough. So it's a tough situation, but I agree it's a slippery slope to go down. Let's talk a little bit about the 2020 Clean Waterway Act that you were involved with. I know that you're always very impacted with our waterways, and I'm going to dovetail that with a bill that wasn't passed, and I'll let you talk about it because you took a little heat over it earlier this year, and that was House Bill 349, the Water Resources Management Bill. So tell us where you're at with the water bills in Tallahassee.
Sure. Well, we haven't gotten as far as I want to, and that's one of the reasons I'd like to go back, is that we definitely have more work to do. This past year, we did have a victory in that we passed it's a water quality enhancement area, and this is where private industry can get involved with cleaning up water and having it go towards water quality. And that then leads to next year really pushing for the total maximum daily loads, the TMDLs within our what's called BMAPs, or Basin Management Action Plans. These are all things that enhance water quality throughout our region. We started it with Senate Bill 712, and in the requirement that all agricultural areas do have to follow BMPs. There's not enough manpower to actually enforce that, so we put in additional manpower this year in the state's budget for both DACS, which is the Department of Agriculture, as well as DEP. So those are coming. Those additional manpower is coming, and the enforcement.
So they can test at the point of source of the pollution. I mean,
so
the farms up and down.
They can make sure the BMPs, they are in place. These are the items that actually clean the water, if you will.
Okay.
It's been criticized as a voluntary program in the past, It's no longer voluntary. Every farm has to be inspected, and there is requirements for that to happen across the board.
I know a lot of people have been asking for that for years, so kudos. That's really good
absolutely.
legislation.
And we have to do more, and the
Right.
water quality is coming. I did do a bill this past year looking at a variety of what was benthic mitigation. The only thing that really got attention on folks was the seagrass side of that. But one of the reasons that I put it in place is right here in Martin County, the only way that we can do mitigation, and when you put in a dock, when you put in, whether it's a single family or a larger area or a marina, you have to do mitigation associated with that. And right now it's piecemeal. It's maybe you do a couple oyster bags, maybe you do a couple of derelict boat removals. Those are, and it's not a comprehensive solution. So what I was looking at was a way we can do a comprehensive solution. And so some of the folks that opposed this said, well, there's not really development here. I said, have you looked at the permits that are coming to Martin County? Have you looked at just our little river here? There were over 400 boat slips and docks and marinas. All those boat slips were put in over this past year and a half.
400.
And or they're under construction right
Okay.
now. So this is something that I looked at. Now we could have had something really comprehensive, something that would head towards restoration, but instead we don't. So, and the amount of opposition that was out there, I listened to it, and I was like, all right, if this is how you feel that we should be doing it, fine. We'll go ahead and continue the same way. I will continue to work on water quality and continue to work on other opportunities, and maybe in the future we'll find some ways to deal with the seagrass.
Right, and that's a very important issue as well, and I can see there's some piecemealing that goes on. It doesn't exactly address the situation in the best manner. So I'm sure there'll be a way, hopefully, to rework it, and something that'll work for everybody.
Well, and I will say this, being the only biologist in the entire Florida House, I have to do a lot of education towards my other 119
You're
members.
the only biologist up there.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you're there.
Yes. So, yeah. And it's just it's putting that back to my other members up there, really educating them, as well as the senatorial side of it, and trying to bring that forward and really talk to them is interesting. But we're making some good progress.
So again, we're speaking with Representative Toby Overdorf. He is running for his third term as your Florida House of Representatives in what is now District 85. Toby, real quick, what's the new boundary? I know it changed quite a bit this year for you.
Sure. So previously, my district was about 50-50 Martin and St. Lucie. Currently, it's now about 70% St. Lucie County and about 30% Martin County. I lost the most of the city of Stewart, about 90% of it, as well as the town of Sewell's Point.
Wow.
All of that is now into Representative Snyder's district. And I gained a decent portion of the city of Port St. Lucie. So if you live south across Town Parkway in St. Lucie County, you're in my district. And if you're north of 714 in Palm City, you're in my district, and also good portions of Jensen Beach, specifically everything north of Jensen Beach Boulevard, and some areas in Rio are in there as well.
Very good. Part of the redistricting that happened this year. One of the bills that was through and signed by the governor the session this year was the parental rights bill. And myself, I thought it was a really good bill, and it was misrepresented in the media a lot because it got the moniker of "Don't Say Gay," and oddly enough, the word gay is not even in the bill.
Well, I appreciate you reading the bill. Thank you so much. And it's not in there whatsoever. I believe that parents have the right to know what's happening with their child's education. Parents should be involved. And study after study after study shows that when parents are involved in their child's education, that the child is successful. And that is a way that we really need to continue to look at this and continue to attack it, is that parents need to be involved in the future of their children. I saw countless examples across the board where the school was making decisions for the parent. And that's just not the way that we can educate our kids, and that's not the way the kids are going to be successful.
I've seen those examples myself, and I couldn't agree with you more. The parents should not be the last to know what's happening at school, especially with some programs and things that they're rolling out. So
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
It was a good bill, but I know you were a supporter of that. Representative Overdorf, I know the election's coming up November 8th, early voting starting October 26th. Where can people reach out to you? You've always been very accessible. I know you're out in the district, super busy right now.
Sure. So if you know my name, you know how to get in touch with me, and that's TobyOverdorf.com. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. So TobyOverdorf.com. You can reach out to me there. There's Toby@TobyOverdorf.com is the email address. It's pretty easy to do. And we're happy to get back to you and happy to answer questions. Also, you can find me on Facebook as well as on Twitter @TobyOverdorf on Twitter.
Excellent. And we have just a couple minutes in this half hour, but what's on your agenda for next session should you be reelected?
Sure. Well, we have a lot to get done. As we touched on earlier, insurance is an area that we're going to be working on. Specifically, I'll be working with a gentleman named Tommy Gregory on a lot of those issues. But personally, I'm going to be tackling an infrastructure bill. That infrastructure bill is really looking at water and sewer primarily.
Oh, wonderful.
And finding ways that we can make this a program. We've had some issues in the past where it's been piecemeal, where if you're popular, quote unquote, you get an appropriation that then allows you to get septic to sewer conversions and things like that. What this would do to have an orderly procession of where the materials are taken and how those utilities are actually put in place. So we'd have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 20-year plans, and then actually roll that out throughout the state so we can get a lot of these tanks off the line.
Oh, that's wonderful. We'll be watching that bill as it comes through. So,
Thank you.
Representative Toby Overdorf, we're going to be watching you election night. Best of luck. It's always a pleasure to have you here in the studio. Up for your third term, hard to believe. And actually, Toby's going to stick with us just a few more minutes because we're going to have Jimmy Smith calling in here shortly to talk about an event that he's doing with the NAACP. So we'll be right back in about 30 seconds.
Thank you.